Hey, Chris Ross here with 8 Digit Media, and some of the most feared words that financial advisors hear whenever they get on a consultation with someone is, I already have an advisor. Now, if you're listening to this right now, I can guarantee you've heard this objection more than a few times, and normally this will stop most advisors in their tracks and you think that this lead is just completely gone. Well, today what I have for you is a 4-step framework that I believe that will help you overcome this most common objection that financial advisors get on a day-to-day basis. And this really isn't about necessarily stealing clients away from one advisor. This is really a framework that will give you the ability to set yourself apart and be more of a complement to an existing advisor so that you can slowly but surely capture all of the AUM that a particular lead may have. So let's get into it. So what I've been able to put together here is just a simple framework that I call the ACVS framework for objections. And the A in this is going to be acknowledge, right? The C is going to be contrast. The V is going to be visualized, and the S is going to be secure. So this is just a 4-step process that I believe financial advisors can deploy that will help them overcome the number one objection that they probably get the most, which is I already have an advisor. So where do we start with being able to, implement this this particular objection framework? Well, for me, what I would do is before I even get on a call with the prospect, I really want to know where they are right in their particular journey. So for me, one of the questions that I would be asking people on my call booking page would be, hey, do you currently have an advisor, right? And then depending upon how they answer that question, if they say yes, right, I would ask a subsequent question would be, well, what is the reason for you, booking this particular call today, considering you have an advisor, right? So this is going to already kind of start to give you some firepower on how you could potentially overcome this objection. This would be the very first thing that I would do, because I want to go into the meeting knowing what I am going to be up against, right? You could be a world-class advisor. You can show these people all the things that you can do, but if they're just going to hit you with already having an advisor and kind of shut you down, I want to know that going into it so that I can head off that objection right from the beginning. So the first part of our framework that we talked about as far as the ACVS is acknowledge. So I want to acknowledge that this is likely an objection right from the beginning. So as a part of this process, right, with acknowledging, you're already kind of taking a little bit of that away, or we're kind of, taking that piece off the table, because we know that the person is going to come at the end, no matter how great, your plan may be or whatever it is that you're going to cover, they're going to say, I already have an advisor, which means they're likely not going to want to break up with that person. So I want to acknowledge that, hey, that's great. You have an advisor. In fact, the overwhelming majority of clients that we get today, they already had an advisor as well, right? So now what this lets them know is, okay, one, they're not alone, right? They have this advisor. They're thinking like, well, most people, if they have an advisor, they probably don't break up with them and like go on to do something else. By you acknowledging acknowledging the fact that they do have one, and that, oh, by the way, most of our clients who come to us, they had an advisor or maybe still have an advisor also, then that's going to lower their guard down a little bit and likely, make them be a little bit more open and susceptible to everything else it is that you have to say. So the first part of this process is just simply going to be acknowledging that they have an advisor and this is likely an objection that they are going to throw at you. So if you're getting this objection, where the lead is saying, hey, I have an advisor, right? I'm going to address this head on, right? This is going to be something that needs to be addressed now and not later. You want to take the opportunity that you have where you are already in front of the lead in order to, address why they're here. So you always have to keep in mind, they booked the consultation for a reason. So although they do have an advisor, there was something about what you said, something in your ad, something in your presentation that led them to take that next step You just have to help them with understanding that, whatever strategy it is that you are trying to deploy or help them with is ultimately in their best interest. And also that, hey, there's nothing wrong with either working with multiple advisors, or there's nothing wrong with moving on from advisor A to advisor B, because you got different stages in life, right? If you think about it, the same things that you did in your 20s, you didn't do in your 30s, and you didn't do in your 40s. So, there's always a common saying in business, as you're trying to scale, what got you there isn't going to help you get to the next level, right? Going from $0 to $1 million, the things that you did to take your business from $0 to $1 million will not be the exact same thing that's going to take you from $1 million to 10. Right? It's going to be different people. It's going to be different strategies. It's going to be a different mindset. It's going to be a lot of different things. So, an advisor that someone has been working with for the past 10 or 15 years that helped them accumulate the wealth, most likely won't be the same advisor that's going to be needed in order to help them maintain that wealth in retirement. Second part of this process, right, in the ACVS objection framework is going to be contrast. So C for contrast. Now, this is where you want to start to differentiate yourself from their existing advisor. Now, you don't want to make the mistake of trying to compete with the existing advisor. If they've been with this person for quite some time, right, they already have a lot of trust. They already have a lot of loyalty with this person. You don't want to bad talk the guy or woman, right? Because that's just going to, make them look at you in a bad light. What you really want to do when you start to contrast is you really want to make yourself appear more complimentary, right? Meaning, hey, you already have an advisor. That's great. Again, a lot of the clients that we work with today, they had an advisor, or in fact, some of them still have an advisor right now. But here are all the complementary things that we do that can help you achieve your financial goals where you don't need to break up with your advisor, right? Now, we know that ultimately you want to be able to gather all of the assets that this person has, but you're not going to be able to do it in just one big fail swoop, right? If you kind of think about the whole saying, what is the best way to eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. Now, I don't know who's out here eating elephants, but I don't know where that saying came from, but if I had to eat an elephant, I'm not going to try to eat the elephant in one sitting, right? I'm going to take a little bit at a time. So you're going to have to be very strategic and take little small steps in order to get this person to understand that, hey, you're going to be a good fit for them. And they don't necessarily, at least right now, have to completely abandon the person that they've come to have a lot of trust in, a lot of loyalty. They probably love the person, etc., whatever the case may be. So by contrasting your services against what the current advisor is doing, is going to be a great way to kind of widen the gap here. So for example, we know most financial advisors, right? They're probably just focused on, wealth accumulation, right? And they're kind of looking at managing their portfolio and really kind of basing everything off of returns. Well, if you're more of a holistic advisor, and let's say you have a 5-step process, right? There's really 5 things that someone needs to consider in order to optimize their retirement. So if you think about, tax optimization, maybe you're talking about long-term care, maybe you're talking about estate planning, whatever the case may be, right? These are all of the complementary things that will work with their existing process or work with their existing advisor potentially. And this will open their eyes to know that, hey, while this other woman or guy is only focused on, let's just say maybe 1 or 2 of the 5 total aspects that's needed in order to optimize their retirement, you can take care of these other 3 things. Now, again, that might not necessarily be the route that you initially want to go, but you want to take baby steps so that, maybe you can get a small piece of the AUM initially, and then maybe go on to, gather the rest of those assets. The whole point here is contrasting your services against the other guy, making yourself appear to be complementary and not being a direct competitor is again going to further lower that person's guard and give them the ability and the confidence to, kind of slowly make their move toward your way in order to convert into a client. So that kind of covers the contrast part of the framework. So new advisors who are in the space, if I had to take a guess, I would probably say no, right? I really think this is something that comes along with experience, as with most things, right? The more times you encounter something, generally, the better you become at it, or the better you get at overcoming these objections in general, because you can approach it from different angles. You just have the experience. You've seen the scenarios 100 times. So someone who's starting out, it may be a bit difficult in order for them to overcome this particular objection, especially if they're a younger advisor also, because if you're dealing with somebody who's a little bit older, you're kind of already fighting that whole kind of like age gap, and they're wondering, well, do you really know what it is that you're talking about? Like, I've been alive. I've been working longer than you've been alive, right? kind of a situation. But it's something that I definitely think takes time and effort. And the more times you encounter it, I think you kind of build that muscle for being able to overcome it. So the third step in our objection framework of the ACVS is going to be visualize. Now, this is where a little bit of storytelling, right, is going to come into play. Here, you want to help the prospect visualize what it's going to be like once they have all of the pieces together in order to have the retirement lifestyle or reach whatever goal it is that they're looking for, right? So here's where you can tell a story about, again, one of your clients where John came in. He was already working with an advisor for the last 15 years. This advisor did a great job at, optimizing his portfolio. He was getting really good gains, etc., whatever. But there was something that John realized during one of our discovery meetings, which was all of the money that he had been saving for retirement so far was actually being put in an account that was not tax advantageous for him. So while he was able to achieve these great gains, what he really realized was that he was going to get a big tax hit at the end of the day when it came time to start withdrawing money from these particular accounts. And here's how we were able to help John save, $100,000 in taxes using our tax optimization strategy, right? So again, you're already acknowledging again, hey, you have the objection there. Somebody comes in regularly who has an advisor. They did a great job of managing their portfolio, but here's how your complimentary services were able to help them see the big picture of what it is that they were missing out on by their current advisor not doing tax optimization, as an example. So being able to help them visualize what it is that they are ultimately wanting to get, right, is going to, again, take a little bit more effort and give them the ability to kind of see what it is that you're able to do and further lower their guard, which is going to help move them a little bit closer to you in order for them to be able to say yes. The more I think about it, when I think about sales, and again, I'm not a huge salesperson, I really think authenticity sells more than anything, right? If you really approach this from the standpoint of, hey, I'm really, trying to put together something that's in the best interest of yourself, best interest of your family, the advisor that you're working with, right? If they're truly a fiduciary, right? So they're supposed to be doing what's in the best interest of their clients. If they're truly a fiduciary, right? They shouldn't have a problem with understanding that, hey, this strategy that you're trying to deploy, right? It's not something that I do myself. If I'm just someone who's simply an advisor that focuses on, portfolio optimizations with wealth accumulation, but I'm not really talking about tax strategies, then I'm not going to be concerned about an advisor. And a client who comes to me and says, hey, what are we going to do about this tax situation when it's time for me to start withdrawing these funds? If anything, it presents an opportunity right, for you to strengthen that relationship, because you could be referring that business over to another partner. Maybe it's something that you need to actually bring into your own practice where you could potentially, keep that person long time as a client. There's a number of different things here to consider, but if people know that you care about them, that goes a much longer way with everyone in general, and will lead to a much better relationship. So this brings us to the last part of our ACVS objection framework, which is going to be S for secure. Now, this is where you want to secure the bag, as most people say here, right? So this is where you really want to give the person the opportunity, or really be able to seize the opportunity in order to convert this person into a client of some sort. Now, again, the whole goal here is ideally you want to be able to capture all of the AUM. You may not be able to do that right off of the bat. You really want to figure out a offer that's going to be complementary to what it is that they're doing right now. Give them the ability to become a client of yours. So whether that's you're only, maybe you're only going to service maybe a small percentage of the current AUM that they may have. That could include you providing them with a actual financial plan that they can implement, whether that's with or without you, and you charge for that particular plan. Maybe that is a product sale of some sort that may make sense for them. Whatever it is, the goal here is to at least get them into your court where they are a client of yours. And if you are as great as you say that you are, right, eventually they will come to realize that the services that you're offering are going to be more holistic, and that other advisor really won't be able to serve their needs as they continue to grow their wealth, as they continue to get closer to an age in which they're going to have to start, taking distributions. They're going to come to trust and have more confidence in you, and eventually you will be able to capture all of those assets that they may have, and or be able to sell additional products and services to them. So being able to secure them is really just going to be a direct result of the three preceding things that we did, which was acknowledging that they have an advisor, contrasting yourself against the current advisor, showing them what life is going to be like if they're able to get their entire financial life together, which is going to lead them on to becoming a client for you. So now that I've shared my 4-step process to my ACVS objection framework, I want to know, what is your takeaway that you've gotten from this particular video? Do you have your own framework for overcoming objections? What are some of the key phrases or questions that you may ask your potential leads that you've seen that have been effective? I'm sure other advisors would love to know how you're able to do this, because it is one of the most common objections that I hear advisors get. So if you have any helpful information, leave a comment below. I'll be more than happy to read it. I'm sure it will help a lot of the audience that I have here. That's all that I have for you here today. I will see you in the next one.